Hi everyone, this is Teacher Jen from camgush.com and welcome to another fun and exciting lesson from Exploring English Book 6. This is by Tim Harris and Alan Rowe. We are going to start our lesson on this conversation. I'm going to read the following. I want you to listen carefully because you are going to read this after me. Let's start now. Mr. and Mrs. Golo would like to take a tour in the fall. At the moment, they are talking to their travel agent, Mr. Winkle. Mr. Winkle, you've picked a good time to travel, Mr. and Mrs. Golo. I have some very interesting tours this fall. Mrs. Golo, do you have any tours that go to unusual places, Mr. Winkle? Mr. Winkle, I can send you anywhere in the world. Where would you like to go? Mrs. Golo, well, we've already been to Europe. On our next trip, we'd like to go somewhere more exotic. Mr. Golo, we want to get away from the crowds and see something different. Mr. Winkle, I know just the place for you. It's called Bake Island. Mr. Golo, I've never heard of it. Mrs. Golo, where is it, Mr. Winkle? It's in the Indian Ocean. You can see it on the globe. What is Bake Island like? It's a wonderful place. It has good food, beautiful beaches, and sunny weather. How much is the tour, Mr. Winkle? It's only $1,200, and that includes all your meals. Will we have much free time to go sightseeing? You'll have all the free time you want, and there'll be an experienced guide to make sure that all your needs are taken care of. Okay, Mr. Winkle, you don't have to say any more. You've decided to take the tour. You've made a wise decision. Very few people get a chance to visit a place as beautiful as Bake Island. You make it sound very interesting or exciting, Mr. Winkle, like a great adventure. I'm sure you'll never forget Bake Island, Mrs. Golo. It's in a class by itself. Now, students, I want you to read this conversation again. To do that, you can pause this video for a while, then read. When you are done, please press play so that we can continue on our lesson. Now let's go on to the next page, and this is an activity page. We will answer some exercises. So let's start. Rewrite the preceding dialogue using reported speech. Mr. Winkle told Mr. and Mrs. Golo that they had picked a good time to travel. He had some interesting tours that fall. Mrs. Golo asked him if he had any tours that went to unusual places. Mr. Winkle said that he could. Okay, so let's go back to the previous pages. As you can see, each dialogue is numbered. Okay, now you have to change all of these sentences into reported speech, like what I have read just a while ago. Okay? Now, for the next activity, combine the sentences using so that and such that. Let's read the examples. The tour was very cheap. We couldn't refuse. The tour was so cheap that we couldn't refuse. Bake Island was a small island. No one knew about it. Bake Island was such a small island that no one knew about it. Now I'm going to read all these sentences, and I want you to get a piece of paper and copy all of them. Our travel agent said it's a wonderful place. Everyone has a good time there. He said the islanders are very friendly. They make you feel right at home. His arguments were very convincing. We all believed him. When we got to the island, we were disappointed. We didn't know what to say. The water was very dirty. You couldn't swim in it. They gave us horrible food. We had to throw it out. The souvenirs were very expensive. We didn't buy anything. Our guide had a very unpleasant voice. Nobody could listen to him. He said that Bake Island was becoming famous. Everyone wanted to go there. His comments were ridiculous. We all laughed. He was an incredible fool. He actually believed what he was saying. It was an awful, frightening place. We couldn't wait to leave. Again, you have to combine the sentences using so that and such that. Okay? You can pause this video for a while so that you can copy the sentences properly, and after that you can make your answers. Okay? So as you can see in the picture, this is Bake Island, and it's the complete opposite of what Mr. Winkle have told Mr. and Mrs. Golo. In short, it was not a good place to visit. Okay? So now, students, this is the end of our lesson. I hope you learned something. This is Teacher Jen from camgush.com saying goodbye and see you on our next video. Goodbye!